want to do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you want to do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast.
Come? Alright, I'll do my own bit for myself.
Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
Every time.
I want to tell a dumb joke.
Every time we do a podcast here, somebody. What's going on, Akai? Thank you so much for the lurk, dude.
Akai, maybe you can answer this question for me. If I threw this can of soda at Dave's head, do you think it would hurt? Dave, what do you think? Do you think it hurt?
It depends. Is it you throwing it, or is it...
Okay, funny guy. If Mike threw it at you, do you think it
I'd
hurt?
be dead. Oh, I'd be dead instantly.
No, you wouldn't. It's a soft drink. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I'm Boater.
Oh, Dave, man. And that's the only time we're saying it this week.
We might say it as the outro. Oh, one way to find out. I wouldn't do that. This is open. That'd be a mess. I could grab another one.
It's just all my shit. Whatever.
No, I might get some on myself. I mean, I guess if I threw it open side forward, like shot put, open wide, because otherwise it's going everywhere. You just catch it like this.
In the most standard style, consequences of my actions. Oh no!
No! Sowing, reaping what I have sown.
You thirsty?
Okay. Anyway, hello, welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I'm not introducing myself again. Let's get started right off with the Twitch ban. I actually, similar to last week, I had a hard time trying to find a Twitch ban to comment on. There was more about Dr. Disrespect. But one that I did find is one that we've actually started to see pop up in our own feeds for streaming both here on our own channels. Akai, I think there was some discussion that you've seen it on yours. I've got it on
Yes.
mine. And that is variations of Hoss00312. So I went to the page of Hoss00312, which is still up and says, I'm the original, I'm not any of the copies. But if you take that and replace a 0 with an O and an underscore, whatever, you get an enormous list of variations on this name, all of which, in addition to other names, are being used to exploit Twitch's API. So what happened, let's say I had Hoss00312 follow me on my channel on Sunday. If I had been, I wonder what this person's all about, let me click their name and go to their profile page. If I had done that, it would have exploited a loophole in Twitch's API and tracked my IP address and would have helped to single me out as a potential target for a hate raid. Because it's all what it comes back to right now. We talked a bit about hate raids the past couple of weeks, but it's a bunch of bot accounts that do this kind of thing. Now, I tried to go to this particular one, Hoss00312. The content you're looking for is not here, and so forth. And we've run into that one. There was one that followed actually about 4 or 5 hours ago right here at Insane Games TV, and we went to track that one down, and sure enough, that doesn't exist
Insane
anymore.
Games TV's crack security team were already on it and had removed them from
We're
the
on it.
channel.
Basically, these are getting banned as they're finding the exploits and are harmful for privacy and security, and again, being used for hateful purposes. So that's the ban, is these bot accounts, is the best I could find there. Hopefully Twitch actually closes the IP logging exploit. It was all tools and stuff that sailed over my head, but I'm like, I understand some of those words and some of those contexts, and that's bad.
Just
so being taken care of.
in essence, for those of you who are unaware of this, because we are gonna, if you don't mind, Boder,
Yeah. Go ahead.
but it's algorithmic programs created by people who figured out that, oh, this person has particular words banned on their channel, but if I put 3 ellipses, N with an umlaut, and this and that and the other, it'll read that out and it'll sound like I'm saying the same word. So if
Yeah.
I spam that in your chat and your chat reads it out loud, if you have like auto read on your channel or things like that, there are raids and things like this that are occurring where people are getting spammed with disgusting messages. It's not like raids from big channels that are just blowing up smaller channels where it's like it's nonsensical and it's harmful.
Yeah, and it's a fast-moving Twitch chat. Like that's
Yeah,
one
no,
thing. It's
this
another
is
thing when it's
racial
people coming on-
slurs,
Yeah.
and just other
And
verbiage
Twitch
that
says that it gives you the ability to moderate that kind of thing, but when someone, says a racial slur that starts with an N and does it in N with a tilde, you
yeah,
need to go through. Someone did the math on Twitter and said in order to ban all instances of this name with
just that one word,
all the
just that one word.
possible Unicode variations of it, it would take like a week straight of banning 3 names a second. So Twitch needs to step up their game. There are other tools. You mentioned one as far as enabling some stuff so that only people who have followed longer than 24 hours ago can chat.
Yeah.
So
There's different chat functions. You can turn your channel to emote chat only.
Yep.
Which emotes are vetted very heavily, so they
Yep.
don't necessarily get by.
We have talked about ways that people have worked around that.
Yes, we have.
Subscriber chat only. There are options out there. But again, moderating chat isn't the same as moderating what your donation text to speech might do, or anything else that you have. So, Dave, I wasn't
Hey,
gonna
Auntie.
yawn when I saw you yawn. I saw it on the screen on the replay. And so you yawned twice and you got me on the second one. Why do humans have to be such garbage? Great question, Demon Dragon, and that's not the first time we'll get to ask that today. I think. Yep, it's not the first time we'll get to ask that today. But for now,
So,
that's Twitch ban and
if you
news.
have the word Haas in your Twitch name, better get a different Twitch handle.
Yep.
Because you've been co-opted by bots and people whose creativity could make them millions of dollars, billions of dollars even, but instead they
if they used it for the forces of good, but yeah.
attack people of
Gotta be douche
different
canoes.
credence, colors, and genders.
Anyway.
I hope it makes you more comfortable. Look at you being so big, so brave. You're so good. You're so good.
All right, shall we move on to what's coming out
Fuckers.
in the next 7 days, Dave? We
Yeah.
spent enough time on this. We'll mention it a bit towards the end because of what's going on tomorrow. But
Yeah. So I did have a game and that I was going to talk about because I was really excited because it was coming to consoles, and then it
boy.
became a story we'll talk about later. Instead, I will be chatting about an action adventure hack and slash video game that came out this week, and it's No More Heroes 3.
Ooh.
Now, it's the 3rd installment in a franchise, a 4th in the line of the No More Heroes games, and it was announced it would be the last one.
Okay.
The last No More Heroes, by the way, for those of you who are thinking about it, came out 11 years ago.
I remember the first one was a Wii game, and I think the second one was too.
Yep. I didn't get to play too much of Travis Touchdown's adventures, but the fact that No More Heroes 3, it's in the Unreal Engine, which works very well for the hack and slash style model,
Yep.
and for the style of gameplay that No More Heroes is famous for. It's a franchise, if you're interested in anime style, is what I'm going to say, action and things like that, check it
Fighter.
out. Yeah. Definitely check it out. If you're into straightforward combat games and things like that, No More Heroes isn't going to be for you. But a franchise that will be out just on the Switch and the last installment of it. So definitely check it out.
You did mention another game that you were going to talk about.
Yes.
Let's do that one after a really let's follow up on how we're doing before we dive into more news.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm gonna mention I saw Free Guy this weekend.
Ooh.
Actually, I saw it like last week at the drive-in. I watched that and Jungle Cruise.
Nice.
I enjoyed both, but I enjoyed Free Guy more. I don't want to go too much into the plot and such of the story, but I do want to talk about it because it's kind of interesting. It was originally slated for an early 2020 release and got delayed to a couple of weeks ago. So, in addition to being able to talk about, like, okay, so it takes place within a video game, Free City, which is very much a GTA style thing, like GTA Online. There's the players going around causing bedlam, and, Ryan Reynolds plays Guy, an NPC that ends up kind of achieving sentience and awareness of his circumstances in the
Yeah.
game. And it's just I really enjoy the movie. I highly recommend going to go see it. It is exclusively in theaters, not on streaming. And it did not try to skirt around that. Looking at you, Disney. Um, but the other interesting thing is that it also does stuff in the real world with the developers and stuff like that. With a fictional game company called Tsunami, Soonami, Tsunami. Um, and its logo is patterned kind of like the Blizzard Entertainment logo, which is kind of cool. It's presented as like this very clean whatever. You have this boss that is just very toxic, like very very freewheeling. I mean, the boss is played by Taika Waititi. I don't need to say any more. You have the image in your head.
Yeah.
Um, but it's very interesting, and the times that he starts to get um, abusive to some of the workforce when he talks about um, forcing out a game before it's ready, when he talks about going back on promises made in publicity to fans. And it's interesting to have this very negative look at a game developer that appears to be somewhat patterned after Blizzard, after the events of the past month or two with Activision Blizzard. So that's been very interesting. Again, I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but it's just very interesting with the game coming out when it did. It kind of feels like serendipity that it got pushed back to just after Blizzard found themselves in hot water. And then here's this game company that is just it doesn't explicitly call out things like crunch, which is another thing that I saw something today about the developers of Naughty Dog, the developer, the head of Naughty Dog, talking about that, like crunch is just it's the way it is or whatever. So it doesn't specifically call out that, but a lot of these things that if you know the gaming industry, you're like, oh boy! And not just because of what I've come to term on my own channel as the topical tap dance, but just in general, issues in the industry that some of the stuff that it does is eerily prescient, on the nose, considering when it was written and when it came out. Other stuff is just when it was written, it was an issue in the industry, and it hasn't ceased to be. So I very much do recommend going to go see Free Guy.
What are some of the because I know in one of the ads I saw the Iron Giant, and like things like that.
So yeah, there's like
other
background
tie-ins
references. At a couple points, I saw the tank from Halo just wandering a street in the background.
Nice.
A player ends up shooting an NPC and then teabagging them. Like there's a bunch of stuff that, like, my dad asked, would your mother be interested in seeing this? And I was like, I think a lot of the gaming stuff would go over her head. But at the end of the day, Ryan Reynolds plays a great Ryan Reynolds character. Instead of the snarky kind of dirty thing, he plays an innocent child, which is a slight change of pace, but it's still very much a Ryan Reynolds character.
Yeah.
But still very enjoyable. The entire cast does great. I forget the actress's name, but she's a British actress, playing an American character that in the game has a British accent, but a different British accent.
Please don't tell me it's a Cockney accent.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank God.
At one point, Guy is like, yeah, with the Australian accent. No, it's British. I think I would know an Australian accent. um, they the couple of the devs trying to track down Guy when they first think that he's like a hacking player. They enable God mode and stuff like that. It's rife with gamer culture in a good way. Not like you mentioned references like Iron Giant, whatever. It doesn't sell entertainment by way of references. Like Ready Player One is like, look, references. Aren't we having fun? Free Guy throws them in the background, mostly in the background. There's a little bit at the climax that is, well, we were bought by Disney, so we're going to use some Disney stuff and get some mileage out of that. And I will say no more on that. If you've seen the movie, you know. Like there are some cheap laughs for references, but for the most part, it is telling its own thing, which again is what I think the best video game movies are ones that are not based on previous video games. It tells its own story, making up a video game that can do what the plot needs it to do.
Great movies not based upon any intellectual property but referencing video games. Movies like Tron, movies like the Mario Bros. Movie. You know, games that aren't based on the games at all or any of the previous established lore.
Yeah. I will say, I've mentioned this before, I think Hardcore Henry, good video game movie. Not intended to be a video game movie, but
So-
I've written an article about how it's a video game movie.
So, have you seen Arnold Schwarzenegger's film?
I'm going to say no, but go ahead and try to figure out what the title was.
Oh my God.
The only Schwarzenegger film I've seen is Jingle All the Way.
Okay, this isn't the movie that I was referencing then.
Okay.
But it's literally it's almost actually it's Last Action Hero.
Okay. Okay.
So you haven't seen Last Action Hero?
I have not.
Logical robot saying gamer.
Yes. Thank
So
you for
Last
noticing.
Action Hero. That sounds a lot like the plot of Last Action Hero.
Okay.
Loosely in the idea of, except that in the plot of Last Action Hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger is an action movie character that is then pulled into the real world
Okay.
and has to reconcile with it, and then is able to go back into his world and all these things. And it's got some very cheeky references to its own stuff, like it references T2 and
Okay.
and
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. Nice.
But like,
I will say the beginning of Free Guy felt a lot like Lego Movie, in that you
Okay.
have this guy who's just in his own life, and then something comes by and changes it. But it has that same quality of like, look at my normal life. Although it's very much as he's going about his normal life. There's explosions behind him. There's someone paragliding in like a Fortnite drop. Absolutely wonderful. Like there's a few great cameos. The Rock has a cameo as a voice. Like there's a masked character and The Rock does the voice. So technically, I saw 2 movies with Dwayne Johnson in it that night.
not surprising. Logical robot saying gamer is great and is one of the best Queensryche songs ever. Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. Hell yeah.
Anyway, so that's Free Guy. I recommend seeing it. What have you been playing? You mentioned a little bit.
So last week I talked about how
Yes.
hyped I was for this game, especially because game delays kind of threw off what I was going to be playing post St. Jude's.
Happens.
Yes, I'm still referencing it. But Back for Blood really kind of messed up a lot of my plans for gaming, but Alien has gotten us right back where we need to be because the game came out right when it needed to, and myself, Leggett Reaper, and Itachi Blaine got absolutely eviscerated. And it was so much fun. It played just like the later Alien films, not the early ones, and not like previous Alien games, because the previous Alien games were either very good or very bad.
Mhm.
But I had so much fun with it. I know the other guys did as well. I'm curious how you guys watching out there, did you play it? Did you watch it? What did you think? But just the fact that there's different classes, and the game itself does the thing that we raised on old gaming. I really like this. It gave us a medic class, a soldier class, a heavy class, and an engineer class. Then, as we were playing, we realized that there are more classes you unlock as you play through the
Okay.
game.
Okay.
So instead of the game has a stock storyline, rise and fall of it, but you're supposed to then replay each of those levels with the different classes, and you go about the missions very differently based upon what classes you
Okay.
have in the game
Okay.
on what you're able to do. This one suffering from the same issue that Apex Legends does in my gaming experience of it's 3 players only. It's not enough for a full gaming group. It's too much for solo gaming because the AI the game tells you flat out if you play on higher difficulties, you should not play with the AI. You should play with people online. The people online I played with, my very small cookie cutter experience with it was exactly what you expect. There was another person who was trying to get through the level. None of us have headsets. We didn't need them.
Oh boy.
I was using the in-game emotes to communicate what was needed and what was
Okay.
happening,
Okay.
and it worked very well. And then there was the other person in our party who's just going Q Q Q Q cha cha and rolling around, and then when the the swarms were actually attacking us, they were going Q Q ka cha that way while everything was coming from that way.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was fine carrying them. Could have had a bot. Alpha or beta, they do a really good job, by the way.
Okay.
The bots, they try very hard. It's just terrifying that in the game itself, they are programmed to always be attentive to what you, the player, are doing.
Okay.
So you'll run into a room, they'll run into the room with you, but then the problem is you'll turn around and they will both be standing there staring at you. And it's one of those like, God damn it.
I ran into that a ton playing Outer Worlds last week on the Citadel. Second I would turn around and I would just get like they're staring
It's exactly
at me
what
right
both
in my
Alpha
face.
and Beta, the two bots, they'd just be standing there like staring intently, waiting for you to give them something to do.
Yeah.
You're like, like, please.
Okay.
The old retreat and get carried tactic, exactly, Demon Dragon. But so Alien, Fireteam Elite. Look up a trailer of it. If it looks like it's the style of game you would like, it's very much for you. But if you're a fan of your typical first and third person shooters, it's not going to do it for you.
Okay.
It's just not. There's a ton of weapon customization. There are things that if you want to try dipping toe in different waters that are unfamiliar but still have very familiar mechanics, this would be it. But Apex has had a huge resurgence. I'm really enjoying it, and play that instead. It's free.
AA games are becoming ever more impressive. Yeah, agreed. I mean, eventually we're gonna have to start adding letters, but yeah, I mean, what's the retail price on Fireteam Elite?
So that was one of the discussions we had on Wednesday, which was Itachi Blaine had bought the $39.99 model. League at Reaper had bought the $69.99 model.
Okay.
And I had bought the $74.32 after tax model because it had all the DLCs, and I'm not doing to myself what I did with Predator Hunting Grounds, where I didn't buy all the DLC and then paid for it up the nose later when I
Yeah.
bought all of it to be like, here's the DLC for it. Is it worth it? In my opinion, yes.
I
Those
get
opinions probably not.
frustrated when a game shows DLC in the normal stuff in the game and then springs the store on you when you get there. It's like, why are you showing that to me in the base game? I started playing Forza Horizon 3 again.
Nice.
Just because I needed it for a video at work, and I was like, okay, cool, I can do this. Oh, well, I'll play a bit more. And its end of life was last September, so it is not on the Microsoft Store anymore, and the DLC is not in the Microsoft Store anymore.
Oh.
But in the game, you bet your bottom dollar that I can still see the Hot Wheels cars in the list of vehicles, but have no way to buy them!
I mean, you could join
Just don't show them. Connect to the store and be like, oh, you're not online, or just oh, you're not online. There's no way to do that, or oh, that content is not in the store anymore. Let me not clutter up your stuff. I'm like, oh, hey, cool. I want to buy this other car. Nope, that's part of the Blizzard Mountain DLC. Come on.
That's my favorite thing. It works really well in Rocksmith. It works really well in Beat Saber to put things that you don't yet have in your playlists. To be like, oh yeah, you want to buy that?
Yeah, actually, I remember Rock Band 3 doing that a little bit too. But like it would do it because it connected to the store and said, "Oh, this is available, so we'll show it in your list." But it did that after connecting to the
Yeah.
store.
I mean, if you're really hankering for Hot Wheels, there is a new Hot Wheels
There's a
game
new one
coming
coming
out
out.
sooner
I'm
rather than
actually
later.
really excited for that.
Steve is really excited about it.
I think
And
it's called
therefore
Hot Wheels
he's-
Unleashed.
He's getting everyone really excited about it around him. And depending on its cross-platform playability, we will probably be playing together. And you should too.
I would be happy to join you if it's cross-platform. Okay, so what game were you talking about that was going to come out this week but was delayed?
So it's a game that's already out on PC. I had talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but Chernobylite, which is a first-person, surprise, surprise, survival horror shooter. I know you're about to tune out, but this one is based in the idea of playing in the tundra wastes of what looks to be Russia, but I don't think they say it's Russia.
So it's like Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl,
Yes,
or whatever
yeah.
that's called.
It's literally that. You have these items that help you interact. You have a Geiger counter, so you can figure out where's safe to go and where's not.
Yep.
Creatures will appear and things like that. I have watched a bunch of people, including a streamer and friend of the channel, Itty Bitty Heather, play it a lot. But it was supposed to come out this week. Instead, it got delayed 2 weeks. It's coming out September 28th.
Okay, and that's for console?
Yes.
That's 4 weeks from now. Today is
Oh,
August 31st.
Excuse me. It's 2 weeks from what was going to be one of its release dates.
Okay.
Today was getting one, another one's getting another, but
Okay, so let's say they were doing Xbox and PlayStation
Yeah.
today. In a couple weeks, they were going to do
like Switch or whatever.
yeah, Switch. So they just pushed all of them back to the 28th. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
So they said it's quote unquote due to unforeseen circumstances, which is very interesting, and they really didn't go into details what those circumstances were.
It's probably buggy.
It could be
It's
bugs.
probably bug squashing. To some extent, games can release with some bugs, but they probably looked at Cyberpunk, which is still playing whack-a-mole with bugs, and they're like, let's give it an extra month. Just to be safe. They also said that it's already out on PC. They're probably incorporating some of the fixes that they did in PC
Yes.
and making sure that that's ready for a day one patch on console.
I every time, by the way, we mentioned Cyberpunk, I can just feel my copy of Elder Scrolls 6 getting further and further away as Bethesda goes.
Which has been confirmed to be a PC and Xbox Series X exclusive. Surprise, surprise.
I will gladly buy a copy for my PC.
Oh, I had another one. Oh, and Cyberpunk with the latest bug fix. People noticed the bugs that were fixed, but they also noticed, so there's no reflections on the roads anymore. They look dry as hell instead of like wet and shiny. Like if you think of a Cyberpunk cityscape, you think reflective rain everywhere, and they got rid of that, possibly for performance, but it's like, yikes, that was a hit. It's just interesting, like, as we're still talking about Cyberpunk's release 8 months on.
It's
Man.
man.
Okay. Here's a quick one. Dave, if someone in New York City climbed a water tower and decided to paint a mystery block on the water tower, what do you think the appropriate police response is to that?
To get one of those SWAT tanks and just ram it into the water tank and watch coins spill out, right?
You are not far off.
Bam!
They apparently got like 3-star wanted level or something because they sent in dozens of cops, blocked off the streets, and sent up a helicopter. The guy has one way down. Put 2 guys in some cuffs at the bottom of the ladder and just wait. Hashtag defund the police.
Oh, so
If
wait a
that's
minute,
what
wait
the
a minute.
budget's going
So you're
towards.
saying that they saw the person doing it in like
Yes, in action.
Oh,
There's a guy up on the water tower currently doing graffiti. How do we take him in?
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like one day people in town woke up and were like, "Ah, coin block on the water tower. Gotta find out if it's full of water or coins."
Yeah, no, they straight up, in order to get the graffiti artist, they sent up a helicopter. They blocked off roads. Like, come on, NYPD. We're talking about how police departments have too much money, and then you go and do this for that.
Got him. Really flexing on that. So that would be probably what? Destruction of public property, defacing of public property.
Probably, but again, I think that the response was a little overblown. When you can have two guys in a cruiser and some handcuffs waiting for him at the bottom of the ladder.
Don't even let him know that you're there. Just park underneath the trees near the water tower, and as they start
He's
climbing
coming down eventually.
they have to.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a friggin' Fortnite glider to go, wee! I'm going on this building instead.
You gotta wonder, had they previously japed the authorities in such a way? Because in which case, that response seems appropriate if the person has Mission Impossible themselves off of high places and gotten away from consequences of their actions.
I'm thinking at most a Mission Impossible repelling.
Just dead stopping. Still to this day, when games, speaking of that Mission Impossible moment, when games don't have fall damage and it's in first or third person, I still feel like oh my god, and then I land and I'm like, oh, never mind.
Power Wash Simulator doesn't have falling damage. I climbed up on a 5th-story fire drill tower and I was like, oh, I need to go get that ladder down there. I'll take the quick way down. Whee!
So you literally just yeeted yourself off the side of the building?
Yeah, I just jumped.
Oh god.
There's no falling damage in that game.
Does your brain still like register like, oh god, ground is coming fast and like
no, but when I
that...
then go and play a game that does have fall damage, I have to stop myself.
Whee!
Okay.
Do you guys like fall damage in your games, or do you prefer no fall damage? Let us know.
What games do you prefer having fall damage and which do not? Because there are some games that work well without. Like Recore didn't have fall damage, for instance. They had, once you go past a certain spot, you're
and your character had jetpack boots. It made sense that they were able to just
exactly. Same thing with Portal with the jump boots, the spring boots.
And then the fact that we were robots in the second one, so it didn't matter.
I still need to get the footage from you to edit that. That's going to take forever. I am so behind on editing right now. Steam is annoying some developers. Their refund policy is a 2 hours, no questions asked. So if you get Assassin's Creed Valhalla and you get an hour into the game and you're like, oh god, this is not for me, this is not the Assassin's Creed I signed up for, you get a refund. It's out of your library, you get your money back. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a 60-hour game. Summer of '58, created by Emeka Games, takes about 80 minutes to complete. And so we're going to go back to what Demon Dragon said up here. Why do humans have to be such garbage? Because humans are buying the game, are completing the game, are giving it good reviews, and then getting a refund on their $10.
Why?
Because humans are garbage. So it's probably not the same people that are leaving the reviews, but the game is really well reviewed, and the developer came out on Twitter and said, like, I have to step away from making games because a lot more people are playing my games than are actually paying for it. People are playing my game to completion and then getting a refund. Like, he just wants to make these bite-sized games, these things that are a tightly crafted hour-and-a-half game.
Yeah.
And Steam is not set up for that kind of thing. The story broke a couple days ago. In the meantime, a lot more people have gone and bought the game. But there's also been people going and like it's a specific kind of horror game. People are getting it, buying it, and then leaving negative getting a refund and leaving negative reviews because it's not the kind of game that they would want to play. So it's just been an absolute shit show the entire way through. And it sucks because um there is space out there for short games. The original Portal was 4 hours. Firewatch I think was three and a half. Um Steam has to do something to take game length into account. Agreed. Yeah, like um there's a website called like Time to
Hi,
Completion or
Jesse.
something like that.
Yeah.
And if they could cross reference with that, or you know it's- people in comments on a lot of the places that these stories were breaking were trying to figure out what's a way that we can do this, and maybe with an achievement that is game completion, and if that achievement is unlocked on Steam, no refund for you, is a possibility. People are talking other options, maybe a percentage of the game, no playing more than 20% of the game. So in the case of Summer of '58, that would be a half an hour, 35 minutes. A short game like that, if you don't like it after 20 minutes, get your refund. Otherwise, you've consumed more than half of it. Just pay your money. It's
Pay your
still
$10. Come
$10
on.
for an hour and a half. You'll pay worse than that for a movie ticket. Some places that you go, like, eh, people are so stuck in, oh well, I paid $60 for this 80-hour game, and then like there are other ways that like it might be worth your time, whatever. And he said he doesn't want to just pad his game with bullshit to make it go over that 2 hours. He wants to make those games. So I'm following the developer, and there's been a lot of press of it, but he hasn't been like, oh wow, thank you all for the outpouring of support, I guess I'll keep making them or anything. It looks like we're losing a good developer of a game. And this is just the one that the story broke on. So maybe there's going to be, there's been plenty more, and maybe there will be more. But yeah, Steam needs to fix this.
Oh, God.
Welcome Marilla's Dragon's Bane. How long to beat is a good place to see how long it takes to beat a game. I use it to see if it's going to be a long game or not. Yeah, because sometimes you want to have a long game that's going to go on for a while. Other times you just like, you know what? I get home, I make dinner, and you know what? Instead of watching 3 Game Grumps episodes, I'm going to play a video game to completion. Done. I say Game Grumps because I've been watching them play Super Mario RPG
Yeah.
past week or so, and that's been fun. But anyway.
So speaking of things that clog up your computer and cause it to do a lot of things, Discord. They're there, and they recently announced that they are going to be doing what a lot of tech companies do, and they're going to be looking for more seed money and people to buy into Discord, to buy to seed money to them for future profits and this and that and the other. They are currently worth $7 million, and
Mhm.
they're looking to make it their corporation worth $15 million.
I wonder if Microsoft, which was in talks to buy Discord or wanted to buy Discord, is just kind of sitting there like, it could be right here for
So
ya.
the owner of the people, the board at Discord did say no to Microsoft flatly. They don't want to become exclusively a part of. They did,
Yep, that
however,
happened to Skype already.
yeah,
Rest in peace, good Skype. You can still use it, but
bad, bad Skype. They did,
full
however,
disclosure, we use Skype whenever we have to do nerd glasses from our home studios.
announce that they are in talks with Sony to get a Discord subvariant on the PlayStation consoles,
Okay,
and if that is successful, they'd be looking at adding it to Xboxes and Switches and other things.
okay,
It,
okay.
it makes perfect sense that they would talk with Sony about that, because Wednesday, when I was playing Alien with 3 people in this room, in-game chat. In Discord, you enter a lobby, you can hear the people in the room, you can share your audio of what you're seeing and hearing, and people can choose to hear that or not, and they can mute it, they can turn it up, they can do all sorts of things.
Discord works so well, like more than I've run across previous, like Ventrilo. I remember I did a little bit in the past, and just other like TeamSpeak, whatever. Discord works so well. Like
Yes.
it is gamer focused, and by God, it does that great. And it always worries me when a publisher like Microsoft was looking at actually buying them. And I know that number one, they would F it up. Number two, they would screw up the ability to somehow to do other platforms and whatever. So
A lot.
so what you're saying is that they're looking at basically making a Discord app for PlayStation right now?
Yes, they're in
Cool.
talks with PlayStation because PlayStation's current in-game chat works just fine. PlayStation 4 to PlayStation
That sounds like
5
a lie.
and all these things, except if you go to stream it. Because then, no matter how you have the settings set, it is a magical and arbitrary coin toss as to who will be audible, what audio will be shared, whose will you be hearing, whose will you not hear. Myself, Akai, and Steve on our Friday Overwatch streams had a field day about it, which is why we just finally did Discord, because screw it. Because some weeks you'd be able to hear Steve, some weeks the chat could hear Steve, me, and Akai, and I couldn't hear Steve, and Steve could hear me, and like
my
all these things. And
God.
even this
Oh my
Wednesday,
God.
years removed from these original issues that I'm referencing, um, John and I could hear each other. I could hear Brandon. People watching the stream couldn't hear Brandon, and we tried to put his volume up in the chat, this and the other. It just wasn't sharing his audio out, even though everyone had their settings put to. So please put Discord on PlayStation, please, 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 because it'll also help my playing of Dead by Daylight a lot. Because then we'll be able to work something out where console players will have that, and they'll be able to chat with people on
PC? Yep.
Please, please. Oh God.
Dave, you seem to be in distress. Let me help by piling on some more distress. So there was a Martin Luther King
No!
event in Fortnite.
Yeah, that was, by the way, presented to me as, "Hey, Martin Luther King Jr. is in Fortnite," and I thought to myself, and I said it out loud, "Steve, that's a terrible idea. Why would they do that?" And then he gave me the overview of what it actually was. Boater?
So it is not a Martin Luther King Jr. skin in Fortnite as you were worried about. Instead, it is an event, kind of like how they do concerts and stuff like that, that is celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. You go in there, there's a whole area with an abridged version of the "I'd Have a Dream" speech playing on big screens. You can go in, see a bunch of black and white photos of the march and stuff like that. I haven't checked it out myself. I kind of skipped through the video a little bit. You know, it's at the National Mall. There's the Lincoln Memorial off in the distance. So it kind of puts you in that space. And boy, am I not a fan of this. Maybe that makes me an old, but boy, am I not a fan of this. First off, when they did it, they did disable some of the more disrespectful emotes. 24 hours later, they disabled the rest of the emotes because man finds a way. I'm gonna take our new Bendy figure here because we're Bendy's advocate. We're gonna be discussing the pros and cons of this event. We're not
Yeah.
necessarily gonna take sides, but didn't they make a Nazi salute thing during it? There was probably one that could have been suggested as such.
There's probably some emotes that are being used as a facsimile of,
Yeah.
instead of the typical
so
fucking.
so I'm going
Nazis.
to admit that this event has some value. It's trying to reach people where they are. Like, history shouldn't be confined to the classroom. However, I don't know that Fortnite is the best place for it. Bernice King, who is one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s children, and the head of the nonprofit Martin Luther King Jr. Center, did not sign off on it, and said that she and the nonprofit MLK Jr. Center had nothing to do with this licensing. Instead, this was licensed with Time Inc.
Yes.
And with Intellectual Properties Management, which is run by Dexter King, another one of his kids, who oversees the for-profit parts of the estate. And there's always, like, there's been previous things too, where um, Martin Luther King Jr.'s image has been licensed, and the not and Bernice King and the nonprofit part is like, we had nothing to do with that. We don't approve of that. Like it's this tug of war kind of thing that is just really rough to see. And I don't know, Dave. What are your thoughts?
I you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Of I'm actually very glad that Time Magazine did decide to test this out and put this very 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 tough subject front and center um, in a way that isn't necessarily required that people look at it and see it, but for those of them curious about the event and all these things, can see it and can be a part of it and these things, because I'll speak what I think is positive about it. It is approaching kids where they are at.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Fortnite, so they're getting abridged historical documentation. They're getting a very very small snapshot. They're hearing the words of Dr. King. They are getting a bit of a lesson. And as somebody that teaches U.S. history,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we have curriculums, and we don't have time to like really get into the meat of these subjects and to really have a lot of these discussions. A lot of schools have very good programs and things like that. Don't get me wrong, and please don't misquote me as saying schools don't do an adequate job of teaching it, but some schools don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some schools don't. They're just required to know the major players and the years, and that's about it.
Yeah,
That's all
and
schools are
this is going to
required.
also vary depending on like where in the nation you are. I'm not going to name states among other things. I don't know the curriculums in and out for some of the states, but there are some where it's very easy to assume that they will skip it entirely or just be like, this happened and racism is solved. Because also, this was only about racism and not about police brutality or about the political um, realities of the time. And that was something that you brought up too. I mentioned that it's an abridged version of the speech. We watched we watched a YouTube video of someone that went into the event in game, and it was about 15 minutes, 16.
Um, the
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 video
video
that we
itself.
watched was, yeah,
Um,
the speech itself, the full speech.
let me look that up. How long was his "I Have a Dream" speech?
You brought up a number, but sure, let's fact check before we just start going.
Um,
Just put length into your search.
yeah.
Um,
But basically, the
it's I guess it's possible until we confirm.
oh, it is
Oh, it
17
was
minutes.
17 minutes, so they did do more or less the full one. They may have snipped out some of the, pause 30 seconds for clapping kind of thing. So it looks like they did post the full or very near to the full
So
thing. Without
yes,
sitting down, we can't
typically in
say
people's
otherwise.
yeah, in typical people exploration, you get a couple minutes of the speech. Um, it is very good. I think it's very articulate. It's well thought out, and things like that. Not that you need a critique of this very old speech that is now historical documentation, but I can say if you're interested in the subject, or if you're curious about it, or if you hear it and then you think, "But what?" Listen to the whole thing. It's less than 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Um,
I,
but
I I have a nitpick about the event when we were going in there. So like underneath the screens you can go in and there's the photo gallery and all that. All the photos were black and white,
Mhm.
which gives this image of it's old, it's in the past. There are a ton there's a ton of color photography of Martin Luther King Jr., of that event, etc. And there's something about color photography that makes it seem so much more present, so
yes,
much more current. Um, it's such to say that this is a current day issue that we are still facing. Whereas with black and white photos, it makes it a lot easier to say it's in the past and it's a problem of the past, which is not the case at all. So that is a nitpick that I have. Um, in all, I like it when games can do that, when they can teach history. The Assassin's Creed games ended up offering modes where you can tour the world of the game, like in Greece or in Egypt with Origins, and just get like a historical tour of them and getting all that. And I really like those. The appeal of doing it in Fortnite is that Fortnite Battle Royale is free and it can reach the most people. You don't need to pay $60 for a copy of Assassin's Creed to go into the whatever.
Or you don't have to live in a major metropolitan area to get a full museum experience, to get
Yeah,
all this information disseminated to you and things like that.
the problem is if Fortnite is going to do this more in the future, they need to be ready for it because even in there, it still has the trappings of going in there with your silly skins, of going in there with your maybe not all the weapons, but
No, the weapons were
no,
disabled the second they entered
weapons were
that Time
disabled.
magazine frame.
Yeah, like the emos stuff like that. This one was a learning experience for Epic when they went in there, and I think that it can be done better, and I think that they will get better. But this was not the topic to use as a test bed.
I'll also to piggyback on that. I'll also argue, video game is escape for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and video games are a way for people to tune out of the real world around them, regardless of people's opinions on subjects and things like that. It is a way for them to not have to be. You are suddenly a soldier sent. You're falling out of a bus. You're
Yep.
going to collect equipment. You're
It's
going to kill.
it's escapism. Yep.
It's escapism and things like that. That that's a that's a heavy topic. That's a heavy and for some reason very divisive subject for a lot of people. And what a thing to do first. Not do like dinosaurs, they live, or like, you know, sea creatures, they live.
There are a lot.
Lyndon B. Johnson, what a guy!
There are a lot of science or historical or whatever exhibits that they should have done first. This should not have been their first go at it. But again, I don't know who approached who. I don't know if Time Magazine was like, hey, we want to do an interactive exhibit on Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Fortnite seems a natural way to go because it's been doing the concerts and everything. Let's do this. I don't know if Time approached them and did it. I don't think that Fortnite started that.
Let's try to look into that.
Okay, okay.
Who started?
Video games can be used for coping as well, and as far as time, this kind of seems heavy. At the same time, it is something that like you're not forced to go into that when you open the game. You know, if you're in the game for escapism, you can just pop into Battle Royale, drop from the bus, just like you always do. This doesn't get in the way of that, and that's appropriate. That's good. Like if it for some reason forced people to go through this event before they did Battle Royale, like that would be the worst. So I'm gonna say that it doesn't interfere with your escapism at all. If you tune in and you're like, all right, escapism, and you see that there, you can make the decision to be like, nope, escapism, and where we dropping, boys? Or you can be like, you know what? Sure, let's do this. Or to decide, you know what? I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that this weekend, etc. So I'm gonna say that that doesn't really get in the way of escapism and coping and such.
If you are watching this and you do have young folks in your home, in your life, that may participate in this event, if anything, as someone who works in education, check for understanding. What did you think about this? Ask them questions about it. Don't
Yeah.
let them
Take an
don't-
active role.
Don't ask them. Don't inform them your opinion on the subject unless they ask for it. But ask them, what did you think about it? And try to make sure that if they took in certain objects and themes and things like that, see what they understood about it, see what they didn't get about it, and see if you can turn this into a larger conversation, a learning moment, if you will. On that same regard, if Boder and I say something on this program that you don't like, our words do not reflect that of Insane Games TV and everyone else on Insane Games TV as a whole. Our words are ours, and if you have an issue with them, fucking find us. Don't be a baby about it.
Find me basically everywhere /BoderBug. You can go to the Insane Games Discord and engage us civilly in conversation. Yes, these were our opinions that we had. Even, if we have a bit of a disagreement when we were talking about escape or whatever, these are our opinions on the matter. We like to present news to you and keep you guys informed, but it's also what are our thoughts on that. So
Don't go blowing everyone else up because you don't like something someone said. Find us. We're not hard to get to.
yep. We are running close to 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna speed run one of my topics. Chinese government issued new rules limiting minors under 18 to just 3 hours of online play a week. 1 hour each on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Enforcement is currently up to Chinese gaming companies like Tencent and NetEase. More or less, it's, we talked before about the Chinese government trying to limit online gaming. And they're like, well, we got to crack down harder. And again, it's up to Tencent and all these places to figure out the enforcement for themselves. And now they're scrambling like, oh crap, we got to do this because otherwise, more than it already is involved in their business, Chinese government's going to step in. Any comment on that? That's a thing. We're not there. So, but take an active role parenting your kids. Don't just give them a screen and let them go. And then you won't wonder and complain about like, my kid's always in front of the screen. Well, yeah, you put them there. Your turn. You don't have to speed run one. I just wanted to speed through that.
So our hero, locally to the Nerd Glasses, and constant guest that we will eventually get to, I promise. But Death Stranding
Okay.
once again returned to the news, and not just because of the September director's cut. Norman Reedus was doing an interview with Adoro Cinema, a Brazilian company, talking about The Walking Dead's final season. And they said, oh, you have a lot of side projects, you do a lot of things. Death Stranding was really popular. Is there another one? And the exact quote was, I think we're doing a second Death Stranding. There was a pause, because I'm assuming he was either thinking about what he's allowed to say or things like that. And then he said, yeah, Death Stranding 2 is in negotiations right now, so yay!
Yay!
So
hold on, was "so yay" part of the quote?
Yes,
Ha!
yes, it was. Because I don't do Norman Reedus's vocalizations and delivery any justice, because I am more of an exuberant person, whereas he is more of a very
Reserved,
slow
yeah.
and methodical speaker, which is why we are where we are. But
okay, cool. So we could talk more about that, sure, when we have Death Stranding on the show.
yes, which we unfortunately won't look like we have time for. But there's one more thing I did want to discuss.
Yay, nay?
Go
Go ahead with yours.
Yeah. Today EA showed the Dead Space remake.
Oh yeah.
They showed a pre-production development build.
Like really early. Here's character models and all that, and some basic lighting, but there's not atmospherics. There's
This is
particles.
hey, here's the process of us remaking this title that you love so much, and here's exactly what we're doing it as we're doing it.
Mhm.
That, in my opinion, put me as someone that literally got every single trophy for that game. Achievement, excuse me. Reformed Microsofter. But I got every single achievement in that game because I loved the experience and I loved the time I had with Dead Space, and so I'm very much looking forward to this remake. I'm looking forward to seeing what they did. The remake was a lot of fun. All the things that they showed were very good, and it showed that the team was taking their time with it. And not just
Nice.
cranking out shovelware.
Yeah, not taking the game and running all the textures through something that crisps them up a little bit and procedurally makes them higher def and then calling it a game.
Yep.
They're doing it from the ground up. That's really cool. Last one I had is Nintendo versus Fans, Part 1.
Oh, God.
This week, Nintendo shut down the fan game Prime 2D, which was a fan effort that's been underway for 15 years to remake Metroid Prime from 2002 as a side-scroller. This is something that the devs have been working on forever. They released a demo recently, but they've released demos in the past as well. And finally, Nintendo lawyers stood up and said, "All right, that's enough of that. You take your passion project and take it entirely off the internet. Get rid of those soundtrack MP3s that you released." And Nintendo was very protective of their IPs. It's one of those things where, as someone who makes fan films, I understand fan films, fan fiction, all that is like, it's a great outlet for developing your skills and for getting a lot of enthusiasm, because if they go and make some other darn thing, they're not going to get any press. But here they get press.
Yes,
stuff gets
Soldier
played.
Boy.
Unfortunately, Nintendo stepped in and shut that down. But hopefully they can take it and change a few bits and then release it as some other darn thing and still have that press to go on it.
Red Android Subprime Meteorite Tender.
Nintendo versus Fans Part 2. They shut down some tournaments in the upcoming Riptide tournament events. They have a few different tournaments going on: Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Some of these Super Smash Bros. Brawl events would have featured the mod Project Plus, which is a mod that improves netcode and makes it a lot better for competitive play. But since it involved a mod in their game, Nintendo was like, no, you cannot have that. And a lot of people that were going to this event were going for those tournaments. This event takes place in 2 weeks. It's been in planning for months.
Yep.
And so a lot of people are really pissed at, like, Nintendo, if you were going to cancel it, why didn't you do it back in June, where I could have canceled my hotel room and my flight?
Nintendo don't care.
Riptide is, giving refunds for the actual tournament event entries for those that were in those tournaments, but, like, they're stuck with that. So I guess you're going to. I have to look up where this even was. I guess you're going on vacation now.
Riptide events.
Riptide, yeah. Just look up Riptide Smash tournament. Smash.gg. So it doesn't have the Nintendo logo on it, but it's a very official kind of thing, and Nintendo's just
Sandusky, Ohio.
I guess you're going on vacation in Ohio. Actually, it's at a water park. Low Tide City? Yeah, you can go to a water park, I guess.
That one is at the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one.
That's
Lake Erie Shores and Islands for the airport shuttle. Oh boy, this sounds riveting. That's where your vacation is now. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that, like, Nintendo lawyers stepped up, but after so much time, to cause, like, maximum heartache. Like, oh hey, this fan game is starting to look like it's going to get released. Better shut it down now. Chances are the developers will just finish it, or like put it out close to its finished state so they have it for a portfolio piece.
Oh, Riptide runs multiple events.
Yes.
So, okay. Let me see if they have any recent updates, because it may not be Ohio. No,
it was the Ohio one. It was the Ohio one.
Yep, this is in Sandusky, Ohio.
Yep. Once you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that is definitely what I remember. Yeah, so thanks, Nintendo. Like, I understand with the game cancellation one. Like, I understand you gotta protect your IP, you gotta protect your trademarks and your copyrights and all that. I think that copyright in this, or trademarks in this country are broken, thanks to Disney. Like, the original 28-year thing would have been more than enough. But I think that that's grossly broken in this country, but while it's there, Nintendo was not wrong to step in and do that. I just wish that they had taken more of the blind eye approach. And It might be because they weren't just releasing a Metroid game; they were straight up remaking Metroid Prime as a side scroller. And maybe because it was that close to the source material that they were like, okay, that's enough.
Their lawyers have precedents to be able to pursue.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Smash tournaments. You're playing our game and you have to play and this has happened. We've talked about multiple events getting, hey, you're using a mod or you're not using the game as originally created and intended.
See, the
Remember
thing
that
is that
ULA?
I don't know that they have the legal authority. The EULA. Uh, I don't know because like modding is perfectly legal and fine for people to do. So I don't see how putting on a public event with that, like that feels a little more gray area to me, but also it's that Nintendo sends in a C and D and Riptide doesn't want to spend the legal fees to fight it, so they just cancel it.
Exactly. That's the
I
thing
I
that Nintendo
I
knows.
don't know that Nintendo would win that one, but nobody wants to go to court and find out. Nobody wants to fuck around and find out.
Exactly.
So that's Nintendo versus the fans. A story in two parts.
Good God. So what's going on the Citadel next?
Coming up next on the Citadel, no, I'll leave the TV there. Every week, I'm thinking to just bring the TV and haul it over. We are going to be finishing Prince of Persia 2008. The last section of the game is called, appropriately, the Citadel, or maybe the Ruined Citadel. So we are going to go through that, beat that area, whip the final boss in the tail, and finish up Prince of Persia. Coming up next on the Citadel, where we go offline. Takes about 5 minutes to move everything over, 10-minute countdown, and I'll see you on the other side. Dave, really quick, we
Yeah.
mentioned it last week, but you will not be doing the Weekend Wednesday tomorrow night?
Yes. In support of members of my community and content creators on Twitch as a whole,
Yep.
I will be following the
Do better Twitch, a day off Twitch
a
kind
day
of boycott. Yeah.
a day off Twitch. I will not be opening the app. I will not be watching any streamers that do stream and things like that. I'll be actually probably sitting in Discord and doing something goofy there. But
I mean, you can technically stream within Discord.
yeah.
But
I'll be
maybe
looking at-
just like a hangout and chat with the community members, just hanging out and playing, I don't know, Dice
Yeah.
Wars Online or something stupid.
But not, and again,
Yeah,
I have
not a
no
stream.
illusions about the Weekend Wednesday and its place in the whole of Insane Games TV and Twitch as a whole.
But I think that solidarity with the cause is absolutely important. So yeah,
It's important to me. It matters to members of my community. It matters to my friends, and so I will not be streaming tomorrow. I will not be opening Twitch. I will not be doing anything with that. In hopes that this performative action will garner a bit of a reaction on Twitch's part.
to do something about it.
And here's hoping, or at least that if they keep saying we have the tools, then you know what, you got to be a little more broad about it. You got to really show people, hold our hand
Yeah.
about this, because it's not happening.
Yeah, and make sure that the tools are up to snuff. Because when you invent a bigger nail, hackers are coming along with a bigger hammer. So that wasn't a great metaphor, but you get my idea. Anyway, so that is that. I cannot speak for other streamers on the network. We're
or
not
on
saying
Twitch as a whole.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are going to be streaming tomorrow anyway.
Yep. So we can't speak for them, but no Weekend Wednesday tomorrow night. But make sure that you're back here for Nerd Glasses next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Tuesday. Of course, immediately followed by the Citadel. So from all of us here at Insane Games TV, I've been Boater.
And I've also been Boater.
Thank you and good night. You are not Boater.